Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about maximizing your LinkedIn ad performance. But before we begin, as always, anyone who listens, I always say, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, big wave, hello YouTube. Don't forget to click on the subscription button. Bell notification, much appreciated. Don't forget to leave your comments and thoughts on this episode. So, straight into it. Maximizing your LinkedIn ad performance. LinkedIn, if people realize 930 million members from 200 countries and regions worldwide. That's a lot. So, nearly a billion active users, as they say, or registered users for LinkedIn. Really, really growing. Come a long way as a social platform. More integrations than people think. I talked about this in terms of don't forget about Bing and how Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They obviously have the Bing platform, and you can introduce LinkedIn advertising or audience targeting metrics into your Bing search. But here's some stats for you before we get straight into it. So LinkedIn rated the most effective channel for driving high quality leads by 40% of B2B marketers. In fact, actually 89% of B2B marketers use LinkedIn for lead generation, and 62% of them say it produces leads for them. It only makes better that LinkedIn's cost per lead is actually 28% lower on average than Google AdWords. So if you're doing B2B for Google Ads based on what people are searching for, you actually get better or lower cost per lead. But as with anything, stats are one thing, results and performance and quality of lead are always another. Bit of trivia for everyone. Maybe for you, Callum. I have to apologize to Callum. I called him Cam on a few podcasts ago. And then I was having a bit of a senior moment as well, thinking, is it Cam or Callum? So go on, Callum. Quick trivia. Who do you think is the most followed person on LinkedIn?
I think it's got to be Richard Branson. I think was he an early adopter of LinkedIn, potentially? I follow him on LinkedIn, so that's the one I'm sort of throwing my horse at.
Josh. I'm going to say Elon Musk. So Josh went Elon Musk, and Callum said Richard Branson.
Yes.
You're both wrong. Bill Gates, 35 million plus.
Well, there you go.
Bill Gates, believe it or not, he's the most followed person on LinkedIn. So we got some stats. We know it's a very, very effective B2B tool. Most of our LinkedIn advertising is directly for B2B. We don't actually do any B2C advertising on LinkedIn unless it's B2C to a business to business B2C. I don't know if that even makes sense. So you got direct to consumer, but we all say everybody's a consumer, whether you're a business owner or whether you're an individual. You consume products for businesses and you consume products for, yourselves, everyday lives. But generally when we mean B2C, we mean businesses selling to everyday consumers in their household. But there is a B2C element within a business to business environment. So where you will sell equipment, like we're doing a podcast right now. You see this on, YouTube, the mic, everything. It's equipment and stuff. Your IT equipment, it's still selling consumer products like laptops, phones, whatever it is, or equipment or stuff for your offices, desks. These are kind of things you still buy at home, but you will also need in the office if you run a business or if you're an operations director. So let's get straight into it. LinkedIn ad basics. This always goes back to my 3 pillars of paid social. And if you haven't watched my episode of 3 pillars of paid social, if you haven't heard me mention the 3 pillars of paid social, then where have you been? Why are you not listening? And it comes down to 3 key things. First is your objective. Second is your audience. Third is your message. They are the core 3 pillars of anything paid social. So before you even think of anything, you need to think about, it comes down to the basics. I've said this multiple times before, so you should already know this. But if you're new listening to it, this is what it means. It's like, know your strategy and your objective in terms of what you want to do, what you want to achieve out of the platform. Is it leads? Is it brand awareness? Is it engagement, etc.? Understand your audience. So that's second pillar. Know who it is you want to target directly. And then the third pillar comes into, it is the message, getting the right message, using the right objective, the right audience, because when all 3 work well, perfect. You need all 3 of those 3 pillars to work together. So the first thing that a lot of people need to understand before you get into the LinkedIn ads is you need to plan, strategize, and understand who your audience is. So before you start running any kind of LinkedIn ads, you need to make sure you've got a LinkedIn profile page, as an individual user. Then you got to create a company page as well, because only through company page can you actually run ads from that said company. And a user will own a company page. And the interface is similar yet very different to Meta, but the core principles always stay the same. So that's why I always talk about 3 pillars of paid social, not 3 pillars of LinkedIn or Meta, because the core principles always stay the same. Objective, audience, message. So before you start anything, you need to make sure you got the right things in place. Got a full detailed profile on LinkedIn, you're verified. Make sure you got a company profile. Then you can create a LinkedIn ad account, because then you assign that LinkedIn ad account to your page, and then you can start running ads to it. But that's just the basics of getting things set up. The real element comes from actually understanding what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Have a budget in place. So how much are you going to spend, and what do you expect to be from ROI? Now, it's a lot more difficult with LinkedIn, because with Meta or Google shopping and your direct to consumer B2B, you will get a high volume of leads, but I say lower quality. So you already know what it is. You know what your cost per conversion is, your cost per sale is, return on ad spend, return on investment, ROI, and ROAS. So you need to understand all your detailed figures before you go into it, because you need to understand, right, how much is it going to cost, or how much you're willing to pay per lead, if it's lead generation as your objective of what you want to run. So before you start, understand, tailor your ads to your key audiences. You need to focus on planning, strategizing, understanding who your audience is. And you can then break your audience into different parameters in terms of company name, industry, size. Then you can talk about job title, their function, their level of seniority. You can talk about their skills, age, groups, fields of study. So many different targeting options, as well as upload data. You can upload lists, you can do custom audiences. So if you have, if you're a company and you've got, hundreds, if not thousands of customers that are coming through your doors, and you're trying to target new potential customers, you can actually go in and upload that email database of those customers, job titles, profiles, everything you have up to LinkedIn, and target, those again, and resell or re-engage, or create what we call a look-alike audience. So look-alike means someone that looks like who your existing customer is. These are the customers that bought from me. I want to find new customers that match the personas, characteristics based on all those key things that are listed off in the company, size, job title, etc. And you can target new customers from that. So there's a lot of targeting options that you need to be aware of. And that's the key thing you need to really understand, is who is your customer. And if you go into any kind of paid media channel, whether it's social or Google, and you still don't know who your customer and your audience is, come on, let's be realistic. You should know that already. You should always know who your customer is. You should know as much information about your customer as possible, because that improves the accuracy of your targeting, but also the accuracy of the leads or the conversions that you get through any platform. There's no point running Google ads and targeting the wrong keywords. There's no point running social advertising campaigns but targeting the wrong audience with the wrong message. And then don't complain when it's not working. Don't be like, it's not working. But if you've identified the wrong audience, you're not going to get what you expect to achieve. So narrowing your audience is very, 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 very important. So, and I've just broken down what you can do. Then you got to pick the right ad type. So is it going to be sponsored content? Is it going to be text ads, lead gen, message, in-mail, as we call it, follower ads, etc. So if you're going to run, let's take us as an example. We're an agency. We don't do any LinkedIn advertising. However, we are going to introduce it in Q1 of 2024 as part of our strategy to push out into Dubai and target more companies with that free audit. So if I was going to push out request your free digital marketing strategy and audit from Bobble Digital, I would be, right, I know my objective is to drive leads and get people to inquire. So I already know what my objective is. I want to get inquiries to that form. Now, there's multiple ways I could do that. So I know who I want to target. I know I want to target Dubai, and I want to target marketing directors, marketing managers, business owners, people in the marketing function already within certain industry types and sectors. then I know that my core message is going to encourage them to get a free strategy and audit from Bobble Digital. So as the ad type then comes into it, is like, right, if it's a lead gen ad, it means when they click on the main ad, they then get taken to a lead gen form where they'll have to put in like their name, email, job title, company name, contact number to request an audit or request a callback. Or I could have that lead gen form. So when they complete it, we could have our HubSpot send an email out directly to them to book in a time with our business development director or with me directly. So there's a lot of sequences and elements you can do, but you got to really think about it. And that's why following the basic principles of the 3 pillars is important. If your objective is to drive leads, then you need to understand who you'd want to get those leads from, but you need to understand, well, how are you going to generate those leads through the ad type? So I can do that through message ads. So I can drive live in-mails on LinkedIn and talk about, are you currently struggling? Focus on pain points, different kind of messaging. Did you know that I could talk about some stats that, most Google ad campaigns by agencies are only optimized at X percentage, whatever it is I decide to do as a spin, as a pain point, or are you struggling to realize what next channel are you not identifying, you're not getting the results you want from your Google campaign or your LinkedIn campaign or your paid social campaigns. The idea is hit a pain point or element that is going to resonate with your audience, and then talk about how you can offer value. That's the key thing when it comes down to, ad placement, is what kind of ads can allow you to be very creative. And that brings us on to the next point, which is, pick the right ad creative. You can choose between image, carousel, and videos. They're the real creative options you have within LinkedIn. So you've got to make sure that everything you're doing is appealing to your audience in a very creative way. So you've got text as well in the form of obviously in-mail. But if I was to do a lead gen ad, they're going to see my message. They're going to see the request a free audit. There's going to be some headline or description. When they click on the link in terms of inquire now, it's going to take them to a lead gen form to request a free consultation call. For example, that's going to be the call to action. From there, they'll complete their details in the form. Once they submit that, they stay within the platform, but they will go directly into our CRM system. And that will then send out an email saying, thank you for contacting us. Here's a link to schedule a time for 30 minutes to have your free consultation. Book a time when works for you. Now, if they don't book within the first 48 hours, that's why we request all the details. The BD picks up the phone and saying, look, we sent an email out. You haven't booked in a consultation. Can we get something in the phone now? Or have a conversation with them. That element comes after the LinkedIn element. So they're the kind of fundamental elements you've got to do. And that's what you have control over. So when you're talking about maximizing your LinkedIn ad performance, the only way to maximize your performance is by planning ahead, understanding your audience, understanding what the objective is, to understand the kind of call to action and message you want to deliver, and understand the creative you want to deliver. Then you want to A/B test. It's as simple as that within LinkedIn ads. A/B testing. And what I mean by A/B testing is that you're not going to get the right audience in just one campaign. You're going to have to run multiple ad sets with different audiences and maybe even slight differences within different audiences at ad set levels. You might want to play with different headlines, descriptions, videos, images, a call to actions within the videos. That is what you have control over, is adapting your audience, changing the objective type and seeing, does an in-mail message do better than me than a lead gen approach? Does an image, carousel, or promoted post do better for me than a lead gen post, for example? You have to be able to invest money into LinkedIn, because the CPC is not cheap on LinkedIn. It's got better over time as more users and more audiences available, but it's still not cheap. I think the average cost per lead is around about £150 on LinkedIn, but it's more quality. I think for the 10 leads you get on LinkedIn, I'd probably say around about 40 to 60% of them would be quality leads. Whereas for every 10 leads you get on, let's say, Meta, I'd probably only say maybe 20% of them are quality leads. But, there's going to be a significant price difference, in terms of cost difference, cost per lead between the two platforms. It will be cheaper, but you're going to have to, filter through a lot more unrelevant stuff. Same with Google Ads. We've been doing some work with a recruitment style firm, and in terms of application firm, and they're doing a really good job on LinkedIn. And we used that messaging audience to run ads directly into YouTube, but realized we were limited by YouTube in terms of spend and audience, even though engagement on site was great. People weren't completing the form. So we introduced other wider elements, Performance Max. And even though when we introduced Performance Max, we started getting a few leads through, the quality hasn't been that great. So you have to sit down. All right, what kind of information came? What did they complete in the form? Why wasn't it? Why did you not class it as a quality lead? So we can then narrow our audience segments, our messaging, headlines, descriptions, and that's how you got to maximize your performance. If you're doing it in-house, you got to look at the data you're getting. You got to look at the quality of leads you're getting through. Are you even getting leads? If you're not getting leads, then something's wrong with the audience and your message. So revisit your audience and your message targeting in terms of how you're doing it. A/B testing is the key thing of what you can do within LinkedIn ads. Some tactics you can do on LinkedIn is, if you have the budget, is do multiple campaigns, multiple ad sets. It's like old school, what I used to call old school Facebook tactic targeting, which you can't do anymore, whereas Facebook's become a lot more broader because of the algorithm. Back in the day, you would break a campaign down into multiple different audiences at the same time at different gender, age, interest, behaviors. And you would have tailored ads to each one. And that usually would get you your best results. And within that, you'd have out of the 10 ad sets, you'd have 4 or 5 that did really well. So you'd put most of the money into that and then maximize your return on investment and understand which is your core audience. Now on Meta, it's completely different. You just go more broad, really, because you have to get better accuracy targeting, let the algorithm take over. Whereas LinkedIn, you can still do that level of ad hoc, old school, like breakdown of audiences, because it's very B2B focused. So you can still do that, but again, you need budget. You know, I'd say if you're going to spend money on LinkedIn in a month, you probably want to have a couple of grand in the platform at the very least, because that'll give you enough money to focus on a specific audience, product or service, and allow for enough budget and multiple campaigns to A/B test different creatives, audience segments as well. One thing, if you're struggling to identify your audience, is like within LinkedIn's campaign platform, it has preset saved audiences that LinkedIn have created into different sectors. So you can use that as a foundation and build from there. So A/B testing is what you have most control over at audience level, objective level, and creative level across all the 3 pillars. So key things to remember as I begin to wrap up on this one, very simple and easy, is have the fundamentals in place: profile, company page, ad account all set up. Plan ahead, know your audience and objective, have a budget in mind. Ensure that you have like tracking in place. So, you know, if you are going to be driving people from the platform to the website, you got LinkedIn Insight tag, you know, fully set up, tracked and tested on your platform. Otherwise, how do you know if it's working or not? Select your campaign objective based on what your company objective is. Don't do lead ads if you want to drive traffic, for example, to websites. So you don't do lead ads if your goal is to drive brand awareness and traffic and engagement. You know what it is you want to do. Have a clear message and creative. I can't be more. That's the element you have the most control over. That's what you should see a lot of in a LinkedIn ad campaign, is multiple ad sets, some that are paused, some that are still live, and you can see the results at ad level and multiple ad testing. Review all the steps of your building campaign. So make sure you review everything before it goes live. Make sure you're happy with it and let it run for a few days. Don't just expect results in the first day. If you're setting a budget at around about £50 a day and the average cost per lead is between £100 and £150, that means you're probably going to get 2 to 3 leads in the first 10 days as the algorithm begins to develop and grow. And things over time will take effect based on performance. And remember, be specific with your audience, set budget limits and daily limits to protect yourself from wastage. So within the campaign, one thing you can do is you can set a daily limit and a campaign total limit as well. And you can set date range when you want to run it on. Ideally, for certain campaigns, you want them running all the time at a daily limit. But remember, most platforms like Google, Meta will spend more on some days and less on other days based on how its algorithm works, in terms of how it distributes its ads based on the likelihood of someone going to interact or engage or click or complete the objective that you set at the start. And don't forget, most importantly, measure and review daily. Check in on the results, what's working, what's not working. Look at the KPIs. key performance indicators, stuff like, impressions, clicks, click-through rate. If it's lead gen, you can look at stats like, how many lead forms have been opened and how many lead forms have been completed. So if you've seen a lot of people open the lead form from the number of clicks you generated, but not enough people completed, that means you need to go back and revisit your ad creative, your messaging in terms of, okay, the first message is hooking them in. Are you requesting too much information? Or are you not requesting enough information? You make it difficult. So again, measure and review, and then you know what's going on. Hopefully that's been some insight into maximizing your LinkedIn ad performance. I've gone through some of the elements in there. This is a great talk leading up, because on our next talk, we're going to have a guest from Yellow Hippo. They're going to be talking about managing your actual content within LinkedIn. So the next episode kind of falls on perfectly from this episode. So don't forget to tune in next week for that one. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, as always, to like, follow, subscribe, comment, give your details. Don't forget to reach out to us with any questions you have using @Bobble Digital as our username. Don't forget to use the hashtag Mr. Bobble, Ask Bobble, #BobblePod. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you on the next episode.